I am not at home. I've been traveling for work again. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the power of saying no. All right. Today's episode of Horribly Edited Videos is literally just going to be a chit chat. I don't have any animals here, so it's going to truly be a horribly edited video. So I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about the concept of burnout. And I know there's a lot of other videos out there about burnout that are lovely. So just kind of some of the precautions that I take to try and proactively prevent burnout, especially considering how many animals we currently have. I'm away from home a lot right now because of work. I'm also in grad school. So there's a lot to juggle. So let's jump in. The most important thing to avoiding burnout is you really need to know yourself. What are you capable of, and what do you want to be responsible for, right? Because those are kind of two different things. I think oftentimes we get to a point where we're like, well, I'm capable of this much, right? This is my limit. So that's how much I'm going to do. But then if something happens, if you get sick, if you need to take care of something at home, it just throws off everything. And all of a sudden, because you're already at your limit, you don't have anywhere where you can go. And oftentimes that's where feeling overwhelmed, at least for me, really starts to kick in. One thing I learned over the past, 20 years of being an adult is the power of saying no. And that's kind of the topic of this. And it's really important in terms of managing your time and knowing where that limit is and making sure you save a little bit of space for yourself or for things that are outside of our control that can pop up at the most inconvenient times, because that's when they always happen. I get a lot of messages from people who feel bad when they get asked to take an animal in, or to do a certain thing as a favor for someone that they really truly love, and then they have a really hard time saying no. I am here to tell you it is okay to say no. It's important to say no. It is essential to say no, to make sure that you set boundaries for your own capacity level. Now again, that capacity level will look different for every single person. So my husband and I I think we're at 21 reptiles right now. Some of those are still babies from Stella's clutch from last year that are still looking for forever homes. I have a website below if you are curious about that. And we really love going to expos and stuff like that, but we always go with a plan of what is essential and what we have room for. We haven't brought a new animal into our house. I think Indy last April was our last animal, new animal that we brought in to the home that weren't hatched in our home. And the reason for that is we know we could have more animals if we really wanted to, but it would sacrifice the time and the space that we have dedicated to our other animals that are currently in our care. So that's just kind of something to consider. Now, the other thing that we always want to do, we lost one of our dogs, unfortunately, not Cleo or Jasper. It was 2 years ago, shortly after I started this channel. And she's my little heart dog. She's my little long-haired Chihuahua. So we had 3 dogs for the longest time. We've been down to 2. We decided we wanted to get another dog at some point after we lost Angel, because her and Cleo, our adopted rescue pup, were best friends. We do have a second dog, but he's a people dog. He's not a dog. He doesn't want to play with Cleo, and Cleo really loves a friend to play and run around with and wrestle with. So we decided a year and a half ago, all right, we're going to keep an eye out for a new puppy. We were not in a hurry, so we've just kind of been taking our time. And I'm a big serendipity person, so sure enough, an animal popped up on Facebook. So we went to go see her, and we will be adding a new addition on the mammal side of the family, a new dog, next Friday. So I will introduce her over on Instagram. I'll try and introduce her. Remember to introduce her on YouTube. I'm really bad about remembering to do shorts and stuff on Instagram or on YouTube. So all of that to say, we really don't do snap judgments. We don't do impulse purchases, especially of living things, because it's a big commitment, right? And we feel that same way regardless of whether the animal is a reptile or a mammal. So we mindfully added another dog because we know our capacity level. We have been kind of meditating on it for the last 18 months, and the desire for a friend for Cleo and a third dog, back to a 3-dog family hasn't changed. So kind of holding on to those desires and wants for a little bit can be really helpful, because you can process it and really think about the pros and cons when you first see a thing and we get excited about it, right? It's like almost like honeymoon phase, like, ooh, this thing is beautiful and amazing and blah, 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 blah. And we only tend to see it through the lens of the positives. But if you take a step back and just give yourself a little bit of time to process, then you can really consider the cons as well. And sometimes cons will show up that you hadn't really thought about before and are a deal breaker, and that's okay too. And it's actually really, really valuable to know that prior to bringing something home that you now are just like, well, now what do I do, right? Drop my phone. And that's kind of the trick, right? Know what you're capable of. Know your capacity level, knowing where that full wine is, and making sure you don't go. You need to save yourself some room. You need to save yourself some room for life events, for like self-care. I know that's such a hype word right now, but I always save time, even in the crazy hectic schedule that I have. I always save time to do my favorite self-care thing, which is like go for a run, go to the gym. I need some sort of activity, like active kind of movement pretty much every day to kind of make me feel more clear-headed. That can look like anything, right? Self-care is a personal thing, right? Just like your capacity level is a personal thing. So just be mindful and honest with yourself. It's really difficult to be honest with other people if we are not first honest with ourselves. Now, it is a little bit of a pot calling the kettle black. It's always a little bit hypocritical for me to be kind of talking about how to avoid burnout, because I do push myself really hard. The last 12 weeks specifically have been incredibly challenging because I have been traveling for work. I've been working full time. I have been going to school full time, and I have been taking care of the animals when I'm at home every weekend. So I recognize that. Now, the way that I have been able to get through it effectively without completely breaking down is support. So support systems are another really key ingredient to making sure we don't get into overdrive burnout mode. We knew that I was going to be traveling and working and going to school and all this crazy stuff several months before my contract actually started. So we planned ahead. We had some really honest, we being my husband and I, we had some really honest conversations about how he felt taking care of the animals. Usually I am the person in charge of kind of animal care when we are at home. So we talked about, him, his comfort level, his capacity level, right, for managing that many animals by himself. We actually wound up hiring a friend to come help him once a week. And again, that can be a little, hit or miss too, because we don't know like if they get sick or if they, just aren't able to make it out one day. We kind of have to run off of the hope that we can find someone to come help. Generally have been able to, but sometimes it does fall through. So being open to, different modes of support is really important as well. So no one's an island. You're not an island as well. You're not an island as well. You're not an island either. There we go. There's lots of people out there that are willing to help and support, especially if you can offer some sort of value to them, right? So our friend that we had help us got to handle some of the larger snakes, learn about body language, learn about behaviors a little bit on like a hands-on basis. So it worked for us. Am I very happy that it is almost winter break and my last class was last night and I am done with writing papers and I only have one more week of this contract left? Absolutely. I'm very excited to be done and just be at home more. But it is doable, right? Like if you really, really want something or see the value of the thing that you are pursuing, even though the pursuing of that thing, like the steps that it will take to obtain the thing might be a lot, as long as you know your time frame and you know how to manage that increased capacity for that length of time, that can make a huge amount of difference. Again, sometimes it doesn't always work out. I got really sick, I think the second week into my contract, and definitely felt like I lost some ground with staying up on like homework and stuff like that. So just breakdowns happen sometimes. If you feel a breakdown coming, it does not mean you failed. It just means that you've had a breakdown, right? I have done that. I did that several weeks ago. It helped because I knew when my end date of doing all of this stuff was, when it was. I have a date, right? So that's really helpful. But yeah, the whole point of this is, saying no is always an option. Do your best to balance and reach out to support systems, because I feel like there's generally a lot more support out in the world than things like social media and the news would like us to believe. So don't despair. You can do whatever you set your mind to. Just make sure that you do that values check-in to make sure that the effort it takes to get the thing that you want is worth it. That's important. I think that's about it. So I don't have any animals. So this is kind of like basically a mental health care chat. Just me talking on the couch about not, being mindful about capacity level and the importance of saying no and avoiding burnout. So yeah, if you made it through this video, thank you. I appreciate you. And there'll be all the info as usual, enclosure discount codes, coffee discount codes, which has been really important the last several weeks for me. And like our Facebook private group, all of that fun stuff will be in the comments below. And yeah, I will catch you next time where we will have animals. I probably won't post until Friday next week because I won't be back with the animals until then, but I'll catch you on the next one. Either which way. Bye.